What is going on, everyone? Let's talk about the weather. Our last two videos were about the hottest and the coldest locations in the United States. Today we're going to take a look at what most people would consider the best places for weather in the country. Obviously, this video is going to be very subjective. Some people can't stand the heat and would prefer to live in like Marquette, Michigan, where it gets crazy cold, while others would rather have their wisdom teeth pulled than be in a place that snows. So what we're looking at is that happy medium, a place that never gets too hot, never gets too cold, and in general, just a nice place to live where you could wear shorts 12 months of the year and nobody stares at you. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to be able to cherry pick some stats about each location and each city on this list, but we're talking averages here, so stop typing. Most of the cities on this list are the type of places the local weatherman can show reruns and nobody would really notice during certain parts of the year. It's 68 and pleasant today, tomorrow, and the next day. Those type of things. Now, that being said, why don't you shed the scarf, kick off the Ugg boots, and watch my top 10 cities with the best weather in the United States. Number 10, St. George, Utah. So it should be no surprise that Utah is on a list about something pleasant. Most everything in Utah is pleasant. The people, the scenery, the culture, and yes, the weather. Utah in some situations is so pleasant, it's kind of nauseating. Utah is known for its beautiful mountain views and clear skies. St. George is the perfect place for this type of thing. As far as the weather goes, they rarely ever get those crazy 120-degree weather days like Vegas. For 7 or 8 months a year, St. George stays in that sweet spot between 75 and 55. And what else makes this place pretty cool is you're less than 2 hours away from Vegas, and every year about a quarter of the 84,000 residents from St. George make that trip. Number 9, Portland, Oregon. Yes, you heard me right, Portland, Oregon. I know everyone's heard the stories about the horrible rain. This is where I live, and I can tell you firsthand, the rain isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Sure, it rains a good portion of the year, but it hardly is ever anything more than a light rain or a drizzle. The downside is the light rain and drizzle happens more often than other places in this country. Pacific Northwest is like that. Portland is very laid back when it comes to weather. Winters aren't brutal at all. Temperatures getting as low as the mid-30s most of the time, with the occasional snow dusting. I've been here just about 10 years now, and I think in that time we've had maybe 3 weeks of really bad snow in that entire decade, where maybe I might have needed chains or something like that. It's never that bad. The summers are great in Portland, Oregon, and only get into the 90s a few days during the hottest time of the year. They never get in the 105, anything near that. Most of the summer is 75 to 85 degrees. Thankfully, the humidity is pretty low, so you won't feel like you're drowning on dry land in the summer, like you would in, say, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi. Portland stays in that sweet spot 6 to 7 months a year, with a little bit of drizzle. Number 8, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Unlike Utah, Arkansas is hardly ever brought up in a conversation where the word pleasant is being thrown around. In this case, it works. Hot Springs, Arkansas is a great place. Great landscape, nice city, great people. Ate at a Waffle House here once. I was the only white person in the building. It was crowded, and a very nice group of young girls said I looked hungry and said I could sit with them. I did. We had a great conversation about growing up in California. It was really nice. Everyone in the building was totally pleasant, even though I was completely the outsider. It is a great city. Hot Springs is right outside of the Ouachita National Forest and has the Ouachita River running right beside the city. This is a nice place to go for a swim when the summer heat gets going. I mean, it only gets up to the mid-90s during the summer, so you're not looking at those 105-degree temperatures you get in some of the southern states. It's just nice and pleasant. The winter temperatures tend to stay around the 50s. Nothing terrible. Nice and medium. Number 7, Sherman, Texas. Have you ever heard of it? Most people haven't. Sherman, Texas is a small town of about 40,000 residents near the Oklahoma border. Winters here are pretty mild, with temperatures dropping maybe to the mid-30s during the night and then raising up to the mid-50s during the day. And they get the occasional rainy day. Nothing major. During the summer, temperatures rise up to the high 80s and mid-90s during the hottest times of the year. That's it. Nothing crazy. No 100-degree weather days, nothing like that. This is the northern section of Texas, so it doesn't get crazy like other places in the state. Number 6, Sarasota, Florida. Sarasota is home to just under 60,000 residents and is considered by many one of the best places to live in the United States. The city is on the more western side of the state of Florida on Sarasota Bay right off the Gulf of Mexico. Now, Florida gets the humidity pretty bad here. But when you're near the ocean, or the Gulf in this case, it isn't as bad. In reality, there's about 10 different cities in Florida that could have easily slipped into this slot. I had to look at statewide averages to really decide which one was best. Locals love Sarasota for its warm summer days that reached into the 90s, but nothing crazy hot. And the winters hardly ever get under 60 degrees. Most of the year, like 9 months a year, it stays pretty much in that sweet spot. The place is also filled with retirees, so there's no big fear of a kegger going on next door. Maybe just a heated croquet match. Worst thing that could happen there is they run out of margarita mix or something like that, or maybe someone breaks a hip. Nothing terrible. Number 5. Greenville, South Carolina. Greenville is a smaller city of just under 70,000 residents. The city is great because you get the warmth in the summer. Like most of the southern areas, the humidity doesn't get as bad as, let's say, Mississippi or Alabama, but you still get it. And in the winter, you get a small chill, definitely not bad. The average summer temperature is around 85 degrees, while the winter temperatures hardly ever dip below, let's say, the mid-30s, during the day at least. 7 months of the year, they stay pretty close to that sweet spot without ever getting crazy hot or cold at any point in the year. Greenville also has one of my favorite features of any city I've probably ever visited, the Reedy Falls. It's in the center of town. The Reedy River runs right through downtown Greenville, but the Reedy Falls is actually the only city I believe I've ever been to that has a natural waterfall in town. It's very cool. Look at that. It's amazing. Number 4. Boise, Idaho. Boise is the largest city in Idaho with about 230,000 residents. Summer temperatures can rise into the 90s during just June and July and get between 30 and 40 degrees during December and January in the winter. Not terrible. It's only 2 months on each side that kind of get bad. Although it can get pretty cold here, it stays relatively dry. The average amount of rain in the city is about 19 inches a year. The average for the US is 39 inches, so they're well below the average. They do get some snow during the winter, but nothing like, let's say, Green Bay or Minneapolis. It's not terrible, but they get a couple days. Maybe a week or two. Boise is a great city all around. That's probably why so many people are moving to it. It's one of the most moved to cities in the country right now. It has been for like the last 2 years. Number 3, San Diego, California. San Diego is one of the best places to go in your search of the best weather in the country. The winters here are very mild and the temperatures usually float around the mid to high 60s. Mid to high 60s? Those poor people. How can they stand it? Maybe we should start a GoFundMe and buy them all some sweaters. They're in my thoughts and prayers. Now, obviously, I'm joking. I have a friend named Shannon in Green Bay that probably would have screamed profanity at her computer screen as she waited for her car tires to unfreeze in the driveway if she saw this a couple months back. In the summers, temperatures can rise into the low 80s. Thankfully, the ocean's right there, and it offers a nice cool breeze during the summer. I mean, it could get a little hotter if the ocean wasn't there, but I mean, the ocean's not going anywhere. San Diego's normally in the top 5 when ranking the quality of life. A big part of that quality of life is the weather and burritos. They have some of the best burritos you'll ever eat. You have to love a city that goes heavy on casual wear and burritos. Number 2, Hilo, Hawaii. Hilo is located on the Big Island, and yes, by most people's standards, this is paradise. So it has to be on the list, right? Hilo is ideal for year-round weather since the average high temperature is around 85 degrees with the average low being around 65. Since it is Hawaii, you should expect high humidity frequently. Thankfully, the city's right next to the ocean and Hilo Bay, so that kind of takes care of the humidity most of the time, but it still gets up there. The real downside of living in Hilo is the price, and a lot of that price comes because of the weather. People flock to great weather, which raises the price on everything. A freaking gallon of milk in Hilo is in between $7 and $8. But hey, who needs food when you're living in paradise, right? You could survive on sunshine. And number 1. Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral is one of those places you dream about living if you want to live on the beach day after day. It's about an hour and a half south of Sarasota, which was on the list earlier, and the average temperature in the summer gets to be around 92 degrees, making the ocean a nice place to cool down. And it's right on the ocean. While in the winter, the low is usually around the mid to high 50s, still being perfect for beach activities, like walks, maybe a dip in the ocean, volleyball, wearing a fanny pack on the beach with a Speedo. Yes, I saw that more than once while I was there, and it will haunt me the rest of my days. I mean, a fanny pack on an 80-year-old man that is far too tan is bad enough. Then my wife grabs my arm and whispers, "Oh no, I just saw the outline of his twig and berries. I bet his wife left him on the wedding night." I'm telling you, that whole conversation, that whole situation, I've never been that uncomfortable. Then the man wanted to have a conversation with me. It was bad. It was ugly. I wanted to run away and shove my wife at him like, "Save yourself," and just run away, but I stuck it out and had a conversation with him. Alright, so that's my top 10 cities with the best weather. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell me what you thought in the comment section. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.